Okay, guys, Reader's Workshop is going to be a little bit different today. Today we are reviewing inferencing, and you can do any of the kinds of inferences that we've done before, inferring the meaning of words, or inferring meanings of sentences, or inferring an overall theme. I think you guys are ready for that. In social studies, we'll be doing a bit with the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, and it's a difficult thing to read. So I thought it would be best to use it for our lesson in language arts as well, so that you can hear me read it and try to understand it, and that'll make it a bit easier for you later on. I also encourage you to just read it on your own if that will help you. I left a link in the assignment for you to go to this document. Okay, so the preamble of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, very first word I want to focus on is self-evident. So what could self-evident mean, and what tools do we have to help us figure that out? Well, if we think about what an inference is, it's background knowledge plus the text. So the text is this old-style sentence. But evident kind of sounds like that word evidence. So if we think of it that way, self-evidence, I think that gets us part of the way there. If we read on, let's see if Jefferson explains what he means. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, and I'm going to stop, because it looks like he's moving on to a new idea. Right, so he says that people are created equal, and that they have these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and he thinks it's self-evident. I think I'm going to infer that self-evident means something like clear, unquestionable, obvious. He thinks it's obvious that people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So then that second sentence, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Okay, so this is also old language that can be kind of difficult. I wanted to make an inference out of just powers. So he says something like, governments are instituted among men, governments are placed among people. He uses men when, in modern times, we would just say people. And they get their power from the governed. They get their just powers, as in justice, as in, not unjust, that it's a good thing. So Jefferson believes that governments can be good and just. Maybe he doesn't think that they're always good and just, but he doesn't really believe there should be no government. He thinks they can be good and that they have a reason for being there. I should add that. They exist for a reason. I think we were here. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, that when it becomes destructive of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, whenever it becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, and the sentence goes on for a long time. Now, it's long, and I hope your eyes aren't glazing over. You probably already know alter means change, so it's the right of the people to change their government, their destructive government. But what about abolish? Let's see if we can figure out what this word means. If a government becomes destructive, the people have the right to do something to it and institute a new government. Well, if the old government is destructive and we're going to get a new one, then I think abolish means something like destroy or do away with. Right? So, yeah, And then he ends that sentence saying that people should make a new government that seems most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So if your government isn't keeping you safe and happy, you have a right to change that. This next one. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And I'm just going to help you out because that's a lot of old language. It's something like being careful or cautious says that you shouldn't just change the government for any old thing, for anything that is light or transient, something that might change quickly on its own. And accordingly, all experience hath shown, that's like saying has shown, that mankind, humankind, people, are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms of government to which they are accustomed. So, what I want to go from here is all experience hath shown. So if he's talking about all experience shows that people will just suffer most of the time, that they're just going to get used to it, that it's not, you don't change the government for little things, people will put up with a lot. And he knows this from experience. Well, Jefferson didn't live longer than the average person. So where can we infer this experience comes from? I'm going to infer that Jefferson studied history from that bit there. All right. So then to wrap it up, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. All right, so this is another bit of difficult language for our time. A long train of abuses and usurpations. When the not perfect government keeps doing things that are bad and unlikable again and again and again for a long time. And the government becomes a despot. A despot is a bad king. It is their right, the people's right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. And the thing that caught me here is all through this thing we have Jefferson talking about rights. He talks about the right here, he talks about right here. But then at the very end, he says it's their right and it's their duty to throw off the government, to make things better. So he doesn't just believe that it's people's right to make things better. Jefferson believes, did I spell believe right? That people have a duty to change their government when things get really bad. Yeah. So we'll leave it there for now. Hopefully this helps with social studies later on. And your assignment today will be something like what I've done here. It won't be a Google form. I'll just ask you to read and form inferences as you read. Let's shoot for 3 or more inferences. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.